Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carl. I'm a recovery coach here at Kappa Recovery. Today is our coffee and conversation meeting. And the topic I picked today was 10 must-know tips for making better conversations. Key factors is having healthy conversations, how to have a conversation, um, and it's a very key point, especially in life in general, and especially in recovery. So 10 must know tips for making better conversations. We'll hop right into it. The first one, listen to what the other person is saying. If you're too focused on what you should say next, you'll miss opportunities to follow up on good talking points right in front of you. These could be areas of similarity between you and the person you just met, such as having the same birthday or lead-ins that your spouse provides, which gives you an opportunity to find out more. Either way, you seem like to someone who really has an interest in the other person, and you'll also come up with further conversation topics. So listening, it's one thing I learned in recovery is active listening. Active listening is eye contact, how your posture is, um, some things are you what you're saying, how you're saying it. So listening is very key um, in life in general, like I said earlier, and in recovery. Listening is a big part of recovery. And if I'm always talking and I think I know everything and I'm not listening, usually I'm not going to change or I'm not going to grow, right? So we'll go to the next one. Express yourself openly and honestly. People can sniff out sincerity pretty well, and if you're covering up, they'll feel less like confiding in you. So if you're not like, it says like basically lack of concern, um, being honest but not being brutally honest. That's another thing I learned in recovery too. Is like the way I be honest, right? If I'm too open and too honest, I can hurt people's emotions and feelings, right? I can be honesty is not always uh, good, right? But it is. But in being brutally honest is, we're saying things that's hurting. We want to hurt people, right? And that causes negative emotions and feelings. It causes chaos, it causes drama, right? And then you have to make amends and you have to apologize later and you start to feel bad, right? You have that guilt, that shame. So being honest and how you be honest is very important too, as having better conversations and active listening. So the third one, avoid making judgments. No matter whether the person you're talking is your romantic partner or a leave relative stranger, if you come across as judgmental, the other person will feel less than confiding in you. Yeah, uh, avoiding making judgments. And that's hard sometimes. I do it. I think a lot of people do it. Um, Coming across judgmental, right? That's another thing. How what we say and how we say it is another thing. Coming off as judgmental. Um, and try to keep the focus on myself, right? Because if I'm not keeping the focus on myself, I'm always focusing on other people, what they're doing, what they're not doing, judging them for how they act, judging what they're doing, and it keeps the focus off of me. And a lot of times we don't like to focus on how we are, and that's another thing that recovery teaches us about is to keep the focus on you, and and just try to be better. Keep practicing principles of recovery and having healthy conversations with your spouse, your partner, your relatives. Um, if you have a mentor, if you have a sponsor, if you have a relative in your life that you're confiding in, you have to take away that judgmental so you can actually focus on what and how you can become better you know So let's see. Number four, look for obvious cues as conversation jumping off points. People you don't know that well may reveal features about their interest or background just by what they're wearing. Someone wearing clothes with sport team logos gives you the opportunity to ask about their fan, which can make for interesting conversation if the team is from another city or country. Usually, are particularly artistic jewelry is another conversation starter. So cue points, jumping off points is talking about like if you see somebody wearing a team, it talks about a football team or a baseball team or something that you they're wearing and that's your team, so that can be a conversation starter. Hey, how long you been a fan for, or I like that team too. Um, it gets the conversation going. So it looks at key points and jump off points where you can start the conversation. That's where like the conversation starter comes, where you can actually say, hey, I like your shirt, or just simple things like that to have a simple conversation. Then you can get into more intimate, when you're starting to talk with somebody. So it's talking about cue points and jumping off points is key. All right. So five, stay on top of the news and store some of it away so that you can chat about it later. You might not want to get into a serious political discussion. No, that can be ugly sometimes, right? With someone you will hardly know, but some events from the national or local news can present interesting tidbits there. Certainly, and plenty going on to provide rich folder for conversation as long as you steer clear of particular sensitive topics. And talks about a political discussion, and it can be, faith-based stuff like that. Then this discussion can get heated. Religious can be really can get heated because everybody's got opinions, everybody's got their thoughts and their beliefs. So you kind of steer clear of some of that stuff, because that can end up in a bad way. So it's like, get with the news, get with certain things so you have this information, things you can talk about, says or store it away so you can chat about it later. So there's more information is always good for a conversation. Says six, come up with an agenda. Just as meetings run more smoothly with a predetermined set of topics, your social conversations could benefit from similar planning. If you know you'll be in the car with your carpool partner for an hour, think of the three or four things you would think of be fun to kick around. Similar with your romantic partner, planning a list of items you can conver at dinner could cover at dinner could also keep the conversation alive. So it's talking about coming up with an agenda. So if you're in the car with somebody and you're going to be in the car for hours, come up with a couple of things that you can talk about. If you're, this is very important. Like if you not too good at conversation, if you're not too good at how to start a conversation, how to steer away for certain topics, this is because addiction and alcoholism, isolated us. It isolated me, right? And coming into recovery, it was odd. It was, because I'm clean and sober, and I didn't know how to have a healthy conversation, or my vocabulary wasn't too good. It still isn't. I'm working on that, and my spelling and stuff like that, and my knowledge of certain things, because all my life was centered around drugs and alcohol, right? To have a healthy conversation and talk about day to day things, and like look active listening, looking at a person, and not you know practicing active listening was very is very important. You know, you can't go around in life and not, have healthy conversations, because that's what all you people you deal with people on a daily basis, right? To get a job, you have to talk with somebody. You got to have a healthy conversation with the hiring person, right? Your coworkers. You go into a store, you're talking with people, so you're talking with people on a day-to-day basis, right? So what I learned in recovery is having healthy conversations and practicing active listening. So number 7, don't be scared by silence. A quiet in a otherwise lively conversation doesn't necessarily mean your relationship is doomed or that you become uninteresting. Sometimes a little break can give each of you a chance to refocus. So it talks about don't be scared of silence. So sometimes we think of silence if you're with somebody, like something's wrong or something's wrong with the person, or you're going through something, So to break that silence is, it's okay to have silence so you can refocus on what you're saying or what you're going to say. Sometimes you have to be silent so you don't, you think about before what you say. Sometimes I had trouble with that. I gotta think before I say something because I don't want to hurt somebody's emotions or feelings. I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret later. So don't be scared of the silence, right? So definitely I have to practice more on stopping and thinking, and then saying what I'm going to say. It's very important for me, and I think a lot of people in recovery as well. 8, note whether the other person would like to break off the conversation. To be a better conversation partner, you sometimes need to know when to close as well as to open. If people sense that you don't know how when to stop talking, whether it's saying goodbye at the door or letting your partner get on to the other tasks around the house, they'll tend to stay away from getting entangled in what they'll perceive as a tenuous interaction. Yeah, you ever have people that you're having conversation with and they will not stop talking? I had that happen a lot of times. Because like sometimes I've been in conversations when I have, it's not like I don't want to listen, but I have things to do and I listen and they continue on to, talk and conversate and stuff like that. And they're talking about the same things over and over again. So I had to come up with a healthy way of breaking that conversation. We have to, because I got something to do, or I'm on a time schedule, and somebody's keep on talking and it's the same thing over and over again. So there's a way you have to, a healthy way to break the conversation, and there's good ways to open conversations. It talks about. Yeah, I have a few interactions like that, with people that continuing to talk and they don't know how to break the conversation off when people have lives and have things to do, but you don't want to be insensitive until to their emotions and feelings. Number 9, be careful about making jokes that will perceived as insensitive. You and your partner likely have somewhat broader range of potentially offensive topics that you can openly discuss than you would be with someone you hardly know. It's much harder to back off from an unfortunate comment with people who aren't your closest friends or family members. So it says be careful of jokes and how you perceive and be insensitive. So be caring, loving, and don't be insensitive to somebody's emotions and feelings. Um, because we're not here to hurt you. We're not here to make you feel bad. We have to be here for support. And sometimes our jokes we think might be funny, but then the way we say them, right, and what we say can hurt somebody. That's one thing I learned about recovery. What I say, how I say it, and when I say it is another thing too. So you be careful. You know, you don't want to be insensitive. You know, you have to be more loving and caring, especially with certain people. You know, you can engage somebody's personality. You know, there's some people you can joke with. I have a lot of people, a lot of friends and family that I have, especially in my sponsor too. We have some humor and some jokes and stuff like that, but it's all out of funniness and love. It's not like we're trying to hurt somebody's emotions and feelings. We're not trying to hurt them. You know, we're just out of fun and it's out of you know, mutual respect. You know, but on the other hand, there's some people that you can't be like that with, and you have to understand that. So, um, we'll check out this last one, number 10. Use conversations with new people and practice for improving your skills. The intervention was focused on married couples, but its principles can be translated to a very less intense situation. Let's say you're seated next to someone you've never met at a dinner for supporters of a local cause. The chances are good that you already have things in common, so make it your goal to find out what they are and let conversation evolve around these solid talking points. Owning your abilities in this way will give you greater confidence to help our conversation flow in the future. So there's going to be people that you never conversated with, right? So I usually let somebody else set the tone for the conversation, um, so I can have a gauge them and you know how they are and what they say and how they act. So you know, I usually, I mean, sometimes I'll engage first and sometimes I won't, right? And then that can improve. It talks about practicing and improving your skills. So I do that on a daily basis with you know with participants and people on the outside of recovery and people in recovery. So all through you know these 5 years, I've learned you know healthy conversation and being open and honest and not being judgmental like all this stuff has been talking about. Um, you know, and when to listen and when to speak up. And you know, that all plays a key factor in relationships, you know. So I've learned a lot on being in recovery as well. You know, I use my ability today to, you know, have better relationships, you know, better conversations with, you know, people outside the world and people with my loved ones. So these are 10 must know tips for making better conversations, which I think is pretty cool. Like I said earlier, that you know, I come from a world of isolation, right? And um, so I didn't know how to have a good conversation. So if you struggle with having healthy relationships and healthy conversations, you know, these are some of the tips that you can practice on to, you know, have better relationships in your life. So that was it for our 10 must know tip for making better conversations. And now we're a coffee and conversation meeting. And my name's Carl, I'm recovery coach at Cal Recovery. You guys are more than welcome to always come in. We have our meetings in person and virtually. So we're here for support. We're here to help you out if we can. And until next time, I'll see you later.